We only had one glorious sail before getting locked down in Luperon. With nowhere to go and nothing but time on our hands, we enter familiar territory, getting dirty and doing boat work.
These are the tales of Boab.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Bums on a Boat. Last time we went sailing, we confirmed that the alternator was not charging the batteries. Also, our RPM gauge went out, tachometer, as some people call it, and we got to get that figured out. This is a perfect opportunity. We are still in quarantine here in Luperon, Dominican Republic, and we have an experienced guy on his way over. His name is Bill, and he redid his entire electrical system, and it looks so sweet. He's got lithium batteries, he's got 2 brand new Yanmar engines, and he was just showing us his systems, and he offered to come over and give us a hand. He has some tools that he thinks will help, and he's gonna be here shortly. That's him now. I think he's hopping in the dinghy as we speak. He should be over any minute now. Out here on the water, you meet people from all walks of life, and you never know what somebody did in their pre-cruising life.
Lost control and veered into the path of an oncoming empty tanker truck.
They started to fishtail and drove into the oncoming lane and were struck by a tractor-trailer tanker truck broadside.
This organization was responsible for distributing approximately 1 to 2 kilograms of heroin on the streets of Buffalo every month.
But our top story tonight.
We have arrested a juvenile by the name of Edward K. Kent for the murder of Penny Brown.
Her body was found Monday near the jogging trail.
It was covered with leaves and sticks.
This person took the time to try and hide her body.
Yes. We were able to take out a nationally syndicated street gang. There's no room for these types of street gangs in Buffalo and Western New York. We took these guys out. If anyone else wants to come here, we're going to work together and we're going to take them out too.
Our ace in the hole, Bill, is here. We're going to have him tell us what kind of tools he brought and what the tools do.
First thing I brought, a staple for any kind of electrical work, is a good multimeter, and especially if you can get one that has a clamp meter that will do AC and DC current, because if you clamp this on a wire, you don't have to disconnect the wire or anything to tell how much current is going through it. So with this, we'll be able to tell a lot of things about what's going on electrically. I've also brought this, which is a laser tachometer, which you can point at your flywheel or crankshaft or whatever, and it'll tell you your RPMs of your engine. You got a visitor.
Papa's here with the water.
We have agua.
Oh, yeah. How many are we getting? 6?
6? I told him 4.
Oh, okay.
All right, we'll be right back. I'm gonna get some money and pick up our agua.
Gnarly. Just taking some precautions, you know.
All right, we're back. Oh, hey, Lola.
Okay, where was I?
The laser tachometer.
Yeah, there's little reflectors. You put a little reflective thing on your flywheel or crankshaft or whatever you want to test the RPMs of. You point the laser at it and it'll tell you its RPM, so you can check your tachometer accuracy or things like that, or just see how fast your engine's going.
Okay.
I brought some extra wires that have alligator clips in case you need to test something that are far away. You can extend your meters if your multimeter doesn't reach. I brought a headlight. You gotta have a headlight. A mirror. And extend out to see places in tiny places. Now we're in business.
In the process of checking the alternator out, we were just moving the overflow tank out of the way and noticed it was full, which is an old problem. Usually if the engine gets hot, antifreeze will go into this, but then when it cools down it'll suck it back in. So I popped the cap off here, and lo and behold, we're totally full. This is an old problem, something we've been battling since we bought the boat. And what that means is that we got salt water into the cooling system. So I'm pretty sure we just need to get a brand new exhaust elbow. The last time we addressed it, it was in Turks and Caicos. Soaked it in muriatic acid, stuck hangers through it, cleaned it as best we can, and the engine worked better than it ever had before. But it's been sitting now for 2 years, more or less, since that time, and it looks like we have another clog, maybe. I don't know, but that's. Yeah, we're working on the alternator, but we've just noticed that. That's not good.
That's boating, really. I mean, even on our boat, I've done a lot of things, and almost every time I start a project, I get into it and realize that there's something else that's connected to it or near it that I find that needs to be addressed too. So that's just the way this life is. I would say the first thing you check when you have an alternator issue is the belt tension, because it's the quickest and easiest thing to check, the cheapest to fix, and maybe the most likely problem. So that was the first thing I looked at when we opened it up here.
Shout out to the Bums on a Boat viewers. Many of you mentioned that could have been the problem. A lot of you saw the engine running and just said you need to tighten it right away.
So I just checked the wires that go from the alternator to the batteries, or that go to the selector switch, and then from there to the batteries. And with it on one battery or the other, the house bank or the starter bank, we're able to determine that there is voltage and connection from here all the way to the batteries, because we can get the battery voltage here. So that shouldn't be...
Will you demonstrate? So you just...
Sure. Like if we go to this... here, let me turn my little light on. Go to your output wire that goes and go to a negative. In there, you can see the meter there.
There's the meter there.
So that's, yeah, that's a starter battery voltage. And if you switch it over to the house bank, we got the house bank voltage, which is a little higher because the solar panels are charging those right now. So
we're about to start the engine to see if tightening the bolt or tightening the belt had any sort of effect. Joel's up here, gonna hit the ignition. Bill's down here. He's got the multimeter on our starting battery. Let's go.
2, 1.
Anything?
hey, I gotta get in the right setting. It's a little higher. So you're getting a little bit.
Going up very slowly?
Yeah.
Not really, huh?
Yeah. Definitely went up a little bit. Let's try amperage. When we put this on here, you should be able to see getting about 2 amps. Actually,
so we've just determined that the alternator is putting out 1.6 amps. Compare that to Bill's high output alternators. He has 2 of them. Each one puts out about 200 amps. So 1.6 to 400.
Well, actual mileage varies, but yeah, mine's not a typical case. But I would think you would be getting, ideally, if it was all working properly, somewhere in the 30s maybe. I don't know how strong this alternator is, but when it's working properly and charging, you would think it would give you like 30 amps, 30, 40, in that range. So the fact that it's putting out some might help us figure out that it's not totally fried. Maybe it's just corrosion in the thing, but yeah,
not sure.
Yeah, it's very possible because our poor engine has had many saltwater baths due to our exhaust elbow being clogged. This has been a problem since the beginning, and when we try to run it too hard, the salt water has nowhere to go, and it backs up and just starts spraying out of the overflow tank and all over the engine, and that's happened many times. So that's probably got to be contributing in some way.
Okay, Bill just made a great point. It makes a difference on how fast your RPMs are as to how much power the alternator puts out, and we just ran it at a really low idle, so we're gonna start it again. Joel's gonna throttle it up, and we're gonna see if we get any more amperage out of this alternator.
Well, that was certainly weird. We revved it up to, I think, was it almost 2,000? And so our tachometer is still not working, but he has that really cool, what do you call that again?
Laser.
Just a laser? It's a laser.
A laser.
And the laser told us we were at 2,000 RPMs, and when he checked the amperage coming in, at one point it actually said 1.3. So it went down. It definitely didn't go up. I think the highest we saw was 1.7. So we revved it up, we doubled the RPMs, and we got basically nothing. So now we're gonna take the alternator off and inspect the back of it, the wires, and the connections. Did I do that right?
I think so. That's right.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about there. That's interesting. I have a feeling you might be, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I remember this now.
Maybe it didn't reach, or didn't have the right lug size or something.
I think that's what it was. We didn't have the right lug size, so we made this. I remember crimping this on. This is kind of janky. We didn't have very good connectors back then. This was in when we first made it to Bimini. First time we crossed to the Bahamas. So this was pretty sad installation job.
That's interesting.
Is it possible that any of that what you're looking at is like causing our problems?
Not sure.
Okay.
Not sure.
So should we
let me just
get this whole thing off?
Hang on before you do that.
Okay. Yikes. It's looking pretty ugly down here. Thank you for the support and encouragement, guys. They said sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. This is our best option. You can look down here and we're starting to remember that here is our negative wires here, and I remember now they wouldn't reach, so we did this janky screw bolt here and then this little jumper wire, and that's what was connected to the alternator. You can see there's a lot of green corrosion around here. This connection is iffy at best. You got the green stuff coming out of there, and so I don't think the salt water bath did any good. Also, what Bill noticed, maybe you can jump in here with what these do and how we only had one connected.
Yeah, typically these are going to be, one is your field wire and one is your ignition wire. So the ignition, when you turn the ignition on, it sets it up to start working. The other one will be a sense wire from the battery. So it needs to get battery power, or sense the battery power, in order to actually start energizing the field inside to produce electricity that comes out here.
But another thing, this is a CarQuest alternator. It was the only thing we could get a hold of in the Bahamas. And when Bill spins it, he says, that doesn't sound good. And he's looking at it, we're probably gonna need a new alternator. All right, we just made a great, amazing discovery. We saw that this wire, it had a little bit of electrical tape here. Oh, there it is, a little electrical tape. There was a wire that was not connected to anything. This little black wire here was just dangling, and then we remembered that what we had done was we taped this black wire onto this right here, and that was what was giving us our RPMs. So that's why our tachometer stopped working. Our tape job came untaped. Thanks, Bill, for coming over.
Hey, no problem.
Lending us your expertise and your hand. We are going to order a new alternator. We're gonna have it shipped. Right now we're still in quarantine, so it's probably not gonna get here anytime soon. But we're gonna, in the meanwhile, take this apart and see if we can't troubleshoot it and fix it, and then we'll have a backup. Also, we're gonna start taking apart our cooling system again because we've just noticed an old problem is reoccurring. So that's all gonna come apart. We're gonna get started on that once Bill gets back to his big comfy boat and out of this tiny little sweat box. Do you have anything to add? Do you wanna?
No, I don't know. I just would say that if you know anything about alternators, let them know how to fix this.
Awesome.
Yes, you guys are the smart ones out there. Bill is a lot smarter than me. I think that's not saying a lot, but we actually had fun today. I don't know, do you think I was more productive today than if I had just sat in one spot and not moved?
Yes.
You think so?
I 100%.
You think I wasted my time yesterday?
No.
Okay, I just wasn't productive.
Sitting still is never a waste of time.
So just because
it's just not productive.
Just because you're not productive doesn't mean you're not wasting your time.
Yeah.
Wait, just because you're not productive doesn't mean you're wasting your time.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. We're gonna have some fun with the engine in the next who knows how many episodes.
And OCD me is so happy that we're finally gonna clean up this crusty, rusty engine and make it all shiny and pretty and maybe even do some painting. Hey, painting?
Huh?
Yeah.
Paint the engine or paint the boat?
Everything. Paint it all.
Paint me.
Paint Joel in the face.
These are the tales of Moab.
Over here. Over here.
Come on, Willie. Pay attention. Focus.
Moab! Lola dipped.
How come you're so quiet?